Back from Toulouse, of course, as well last weekend. They played on the Sunday. So it's not been straightforward. You sense that lots of these Premiership sides right now being held together with a bit of string and sellotape. It's been a tough old first half of the season since. Not so for that young man. Ben Morgan knows all about the hard yakka at this point of the campaign, though, and so too Stephen Luatua. Actually struggling to see out of an eye after a bang to it last Saturday, but as you can see, he is fit and well now. Bristol's resurgence over the last couple of seasons yet to attract Six Nations coaches' attentions, but they continue to attract the attention of the local community in these parts. Another bumper Ashton Gate crowd. It's worth pointing out, actually, that nobody in the Bristol squad is scheduled to be involved in the Six Nations over the next couple of months. In fact, they're the only Premiership club without representation in Eddie Jones' England squad. Every single one of the 11 have at least one representative, but not Bristol. Our referee today, Carl Dixon, who took charge of this fixture back in March at the end of last season, awarded Bristol a penalty try that helped them to their first win in this contest in the Premiership for 11 years, since 2008.
About 10 seconds. Keep holding, keep holding. Okay, no problem.
It's a misty old day in the West Country, one of those days that barely brightens as it wears on. And Bristol kick us off, and safe as houses, Ben Morgan underneath it. Driven out by Chris Harris. Franco Murray, part of the protection squad for Joe Simpson, buckling in again with Willie Hines, set for Six Nations duties with England. Safe clearance, finding touch.
Nice clearance from Joe Simpson. It'd be interesting to see. Obviously, no Willie Hines, he's away with England, and Joe Simpson's known as a player who likes to play with tempo. He's been in cracking form early on for Gloucester. I'm sure he'll be looking to ensure they come out the blocks fast.
Whipped away by Harry Randall, one of those Bristol players not yet picked for England, but certainly on Eddie Jones' radar. Now Luatua, flat as you like. Nathan Hughes clearing out bodies. Balmains was one of them. This is Luatua once more. Laid off by Sam Bedlow, dropped by Luke Morahan. Gathered in by Harris. He and Alex Craig, part of Scotland's Six Nations preparations this week.
Yeah, going back to the advantage.
But we will come back for the scrum.
Yeah, just couldn't quite get the advantage there. Ball went out on the full, and Gloucester will get the first scrum of the game, but intent from both sides there to try and run the ball nice and early.
Let's go, lads. Owen, make sure we hold in the line out, please.
Luke Morahan,
here's our mark.
certainly a try-scoring threat in the absence of Charles Piatow today. He scored 3 in the Premiership so far, repositioning from wing to full-back today. First scrum.
Those statistics up on the screen would tell you that Gloucester not really looking to keep the ball in. They just like to get it in and away.
I know, but we've got to come up.
Yeah, we're just looking at the statistics of Bristol. Obviously, defensively, they concede a huge number of tries of first phase. Just highlighting there, Piers O'Connor. He was at fault for a couple of tries against Wass off the first phase of Fekitoa, really exploited that. We know how wide Gloucester want to play. They'll be certainly look to play in around that 13 channel potentially.
There's Piers O'Connor.
Bind. Set. Keep away from him.
Harry Randall and Joe Simpson just locking horns. Picked up by Morgan, and now Atkinson. My goodness, he does that job so well. Yeah. Offload as well to the captain. Simpson gets them going once more. Mostert laying it back. Williams enjoying being back in the saddle again today. Wayne Pivac amongst those who'll be keeping a close eye on Owen Williams today. And of course the young bloke out on the wing. Here's Morahan. Brilliant runner with the ball and picks out Alapati Leua. This is O'Connor.
5. No, not you. Number 5.
Penalty going against number 5, who is Franco Mostert.
Yeah, penalty goes against them, but that last scrum, you just feel that Bristol were beaten off that first phase a little bit too easily. Just went through the gap as we see the penalty being drawn here. Just going off his feet, Mostert. Bristol get the opportunity to clear. He's had a tough old spell, hasn't he? Had to come straight back into action for Gloucester. Jacko Creel out injured, no Ed Slater with the foot injury, and he's put in a big shift, hasn't he, Mostert?
Moulton, he went for the long one looking for Atwood and was burgled at the back as a result. Moulton not due to start today. That's been lost. Moulton regaining possession via the big tackle on Morgan. And what can Bedlow do with this? That really was some reaction from the hooker, whose throw was stolen. But then that big tackle winning back possession for his side. Here's Sheedy. Atwood.
Tackle now!
Sheedy. Atwood again. Bedlow. Oh, that's loose. Hughes having to backpedal.
Bristol play quite an intricate game plan. We know they're like going from coast to coast. We often talk about Gloucester from an attacking perspective, but their one impressive thing, I think, this year has just been their defence. They keep their integrity, very physical and good decisions at the breakdown.
Didn't survive the clear out. Ball's available.
Moulton, we got that away quickly to Woolmore, and he had to do it quickly because Atkinson was on him.
No, 7. Thank you.
Alfoa, the stretch, the gather.
Oh, wonderful hands from Alfoa. That was, picked it up one-handed.
Chip over the top. Harris onto it first. Might just open up for him. Harris and Atkinson, Gloucester with two midfielders who are very happy to run straight and hard, and so too Joe Simpson at scrum half. Lays it up for Morgan. Judo thrown to the floor by Atwood. Williams zips it out to Atkinson. Tackled by O'Connor. Intricate, short, sharp passing from Gloucester, but in the end it falls apart, and here's Hughes. Oh, and he's managed to work his way over halfway. It was Alex Craig who was setting himself up for the tackle a little bit too early, and Hughes just waltzed around him.
Yeah, good little offload from Hughes. He had a man outside him, chose to go inside, but Bristol are on here.
And this burst, courtesy of Morahan. Leua beautifully back inside to Vui. Atkinson got back first, and importantly, but a toe hold here for the home side. Moulton. Stephen Luatur was down injured and got back up perfectly.
Lazarus.
Here goes Thomas. And now Hughes, who's lost his glove in his determination to get through that tackle. And now John Alfoa. Again, Bristol very keen to get these short passes going, and Bedlow, who's been prominent so far. Sheedy. Oof.
Flat for me.
All right, pass was fair enough, and Vui drives on. Randall engaging Atwood again, just inside the Bristol City penalty area. And then Moulton. Oh, that's beautiful stuff. The ball away from Luatua. deserve better.
Oh, what a shame. They just got a little bit flat behind the pass, but some wonderful, intricate forward play, particularly from the tight forwards. Started with Nathan Hughes on this left-hand side. A little bit of footwork and evasiveness, and then, as always with Nathan Hughes, an offload on the inside. And that got them rolling. And after that, just some wonderful offloading from the forwards.
A little bit.
Could have potentially finished there. Some really nice play. Luater, who was down, getting a bit of medical attention. Didn't take him 3 days to get up. 3 phases, straight back into play. Lifts the ball up.
We've got to be very careful because both two
Continues with that attacking play.
So the guy's making the tackle. So
Lawrence, England without Billy Vunipola, how close do you think Nathan Hughes is to re-engaging with that England squad?
Well, I mean, Eddie Jones would have taken a good hard think about it, but he's seen Nathan Hughes firsthand, both on the field and in training, and clearly whatever he's seen subsequently for Bristol in the early part of the season, particularly when he was playing very well, has not been strong enough for him to warrant a call-up. And I just think with Nathan, maybe Eddie Jones feels with Courtney Laws dropping back into the back row that he's got enough ball-carrying ballast, if you like. And the question marks on Nathan are in the big games. Can he stand up and really deliver the performances that England need? And at the moment, he doesn't feel so.
Hughes' last England cap, final game of Six Nations last season, that extraordinary Calcutta Cup match. Loose ball, loose Gloucester ball, and it'll be a Bristol scrum.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was quite what Joe Simpson was looking for there, just given man and ball, and if he'd have held on to that, he may have got absolutely clattered. Look, ball just spouts out the back. The last time I looked, Mostart, it's your job to pick that up and fall on it, not me as a scrum half to get battered by you shoveling it back to me. And I'm sure he'll be having a quiet word with his second row and reminding him of that.
Gloucester only won a couple of their last half a dozen Premiership games. They're still third, still in the playoffs. 5 points clear of Bristol, who are in 5th at the moment, but that proximity, one of plenty of things that gives this a fixture with extra added edge.
Well, the whole Premiership season has unfolded in a totally different way to what we're used to, you know, with the announcement at the bottom with what's happening. That kind of puts paid to that, and really, bar Exeter, everyone else is fighting for that top 4 finish. And London Irish beating Northampton, so many results going in a different direction. Nothing really is accounted for, and we're only a third of the way through the season. So much to play for, particularly for these two sides.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
It's not stable from the start.
It's not stable.
Slow it down a bit on the calls.
Okay, let's go.
Wait for them to get
Lads,
steady.
let's make sure we're stable, okay, please? Stable, let's go again.
So,
Let's go.
Fraser Balmain against Jake Woolmore
Thank you, Hamish.
on this near side to us. There's Woolmore rapidly cementing himself into that top left-hand corner of the Bristol scrum. He's having an excellent season. Balmain as well, laying down more roots with Gloucester. He's just agreed a new contract. 2 players on the very tops of their game at the moment.
Bind.
Gloucester free kick. Hughes sets off. Sheedy. Here's O'Connor. It's away by Morahan, but asking just a little bit too much of himself, and in the end, Alapati-Leua on that far side.
Yeah, a little bit careless from Bristol there. Nathan Hughes had the tap and elected to pass it on, and really it just ended up going a little bit lateral from Bristol's perspective. When you've got a guy that size, you need to be the focal point. Take that forward first, Nathan, and all he does really is just send his whole team laterally, and it becomes quite easy for Gloucester to defend. Maybe one offload too many, and they're just able to shovel the Bristol attack into touch. Good intent, but just wrong execution.
Franco Murray, he and Balmain, a couple of fit front rowers this weekend. And Moulton taken by Sheedy eventually.
At 7,
And
be
Morahan.
careful, please, thank you.
And then Ben Morgan got his hands to it.
Okay, advantage,
And
penalty.
it was deliberate. A deliberate knock-on. He was helped out by Hamish Smales, who's the assistant referee on this near side. Simon McConnell and Hamish Smales, the touch judges today.
Just wonder in the context of this game, he's going for goal. Just felt maybe, given the amount of time they just spent down in this half, that they might fancy popping this in the corner. But clearly they want points on the board. There's the deliberate knock-on. Saw one last night. Just a penalty. Just interested to know, Hugo, when is it just a penalty and when do you think it becomes a yellow card if it's a deliberate knock-on?
Yeah, it's a tough balance, isn't it? You're talking about balance. Bristol are trying to play so much rugby. You see their carries and their meters, their way up and all of it. Unfortunately, that knife edge was that final pass is either going to concede or score a try or potential intercept. That's the detail which will obviously disappoint Pat Lam, but their intent is most definitely there. They've always wanted to have that approach to the game and certainly try and put Gloucester under pressure in the early exchanges in this game.
He's got over 120 points so far this season. Callum Sheedy, 71 of them in the Premiership. Curls it between the posts to underline a bright Bristol start. They lead by 3 points to 0.
Yeah, nice kick that, almost like a free kick in football, wasn't it? Just curled it round off that right hand upright, and Bristol get the lead.
It's more Kevin Sheedy than Callum Sheedy. Thanks to Aid for that, by the way, who, despite supporting West Ham, still has a vague interest in football these days. Taken in by Chris Vui. Here's Dan Thomas. Walloped up by Atwood. Oh, it's a penalty. Well, Pat Lam talked to Sarah before the match
First man
about their work at the breakdown and just recycling quickly enough, and they've been penalised for a slow effort there.
Yeah, and that's both sides of the ball, by the way, when we talk about the breakdown, because that was a ball that Bristol took in, and whenever you elect to take the ball away from a touchline off a kickoff, coming into the centre of the field, you've got to manage and resource that ruck appropriately, because if you don't do that, things like this happen. And as we know, Gloucester have been pretty miserly defensively, given away a lot of penalties, but they've given away the fewest tries in the Prem. Dave Atwood doesn't agree. He thinks he went off his feet to bridge it. He'll be delighted, and it gives Gloucester an early opportunity just to level this scoreboard up. It's a cheap one, that, for Bristol to give away.
And this is Owen Williams' first kick of the season. It's been a week full of good news for him. Trained with Wales at the beginning of it, and he plays today. First start for over a year. He's had 3 replacement run-outs, but this is first start, and now a chance for points. First for a long time. First point since he was banging them over against Cast over a year ago. Hats off to a returning Owen Williams. Bristol 3, Gloucester 3. Bedlow with the restart, and then expertly lifted high. Franco Mostert. Morgan trickles it back. Ackerman under some pressure, just outside the 22.
Yeah, risky offload there from Ben Morgan. Gloucester just about managed to retain that. They've obviously taken it back into the 22, so this won't go to touch. Joe Simpson just making sure he's got that length on the maul, on the ruck, I beg your pardon, before he puts it up in the air.
Off the barrel-chested Luke Morahan.
I've got it off the chest, so just play on.
Moulton trying to
Tackle
rip it
now,
back.
release on the floor.
He'll be frustrated to have to give that one up. He got himself in a reasonable position.
Use, please.
Barbara Ruskin
Hold.
rolling around to provide that protection. Atwood with the outstretched hand, but the clearance was safe, and just about Morahan's gather. Alfoa and Sheedy. Oh, over the top, and opportunity for Piers O'Connor. And Nathan Hughes. Tom Marshall takes a seat. My goodness, Nathan Hughes is ploughing fields at the moment.
Yeah, the offload didn't quite go to hand, and Gloucester managed to turn this over with Simpson.
And Leua came up, and having decided to come up and make the tackle, he needed to, and he did. Lewis Rees-Zammett's kick gathered safely. Randall, Sheedy, and now Chris Vui. Woolmore doing well to hold on to it. Almost up to halfway. Randall, and then Thomas, and beautifully out to Leua, who skipped some tackles, but the hard-working Rees-Zammett got back defensively. Here's Bedlow. He does well to get beyond the gain line. Now, what about the speed of it? Wasn't overly quick because it was being held on to illegally by Gloucester's defence.
Yeah, penalty there to Bristol, right in front of the sticks. Just trying to get that quick ball that Pat Lamb was talking about, the breakdown. Leua, of course, made the break down the right-hand side, which nearly got him in. This is it here. Didn't have much room to work with. Look at that, stepped in off his right foot. Got a little bit of space, and it's here. Got to say, Gloucester are offside there. Never really got behind the back foot. Shut that space down. Could have been a penalty much earlier on in the play. It's this one that Carl Dixon ends up awarding. Just holding on a bit too long. Was it Ben Morgan? Not getting out the way of Randall. But actually, the Gloucester defensive line had never really reset from the initial line break, and that's what caused the problems.
If you land there. If you fall there.
Couple of Callum Sheedy penalties midway through the first half. Bristol 6, Gloucester 3.
Yeah, it's a good start for Bristol, really stressing Gloucester. They have every team in the Premiership so far this season in terms of line breaks, metres made. Mind you, the last time they received the kick-off ended up resulting in a penalty for Gloucester, so got to get this part of their game right.
Vui underneath it, hoisted highest. Ben Morgan has stolen around to try to win it back. Randall to Thomas.
Back off, Bristol.
Thomas gets another go.
Yeah, that pass wasn't really on. Bristol got to be careful in this area. Just do the simple basics right, truck it up. So again, they're not resourced that ruck correctly, and they're in problems. Dave Atwood going long in that breakdown, doesn't need to do that.
Let's have a chat with Johnny Bell, Gloucester's defence coach. Johnny, we've been talking a lot about how Bristol, particularly amongst the forwards, are using those little short, sharp, neat passes. In those enclosed spaces, how do you defend against that? What's the best way?
Well, I just think we're jumping in a little tip plays a little bit too early, and that gives them that little bit of momentum. So you've got to nominate early who you're picking up, and then be able to defend the ball from the outside so that we can double on those hits. But if we jump in too early, they play those tips. But they're a challenging team to play against. As you see, you can turn them over at times, but they'll cause you some stress at times, especially if we turn over too much ball.
How good to see this man back.
Yeah, it's great. I'm delighted for him. He's been out a long time. He's a quality player, and yeah, he just needs game time under his belt and get for a feel for it. But it's lovely to see him back again.
Well done, Johnny. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gloucester back level, 6 points apiece. Hughes, Bristol's attack.
Yeah, really enjoy what Bristol do in terms of attack, but they do offer you up opportunity. The first thing you've got to deal with is the threat in front of you, which is the breakdown. You see Bristol evolve. They're working really hard to get to play the second phase. But you're not going to get a second phase if you don't deal with the threat. Lovely field position, really good shape, but that is a massive work on, as Johnny Bell's already pointed out.
Interesting to see Bedlow absolutely walloping it back towards the Gloucester try line, where it's hoisted away by Morgan. And this is Balmain.
I'll be fascinated, Hugo, just to know in terms of the numbers, while Gloucester just clear this ball, the numbers, whether they're resourcing that ruck as they should be, you know, that first breakdown.
I think that's a really good point. We're going to see it now. You know, they want to play to the width. Gloucester are a really good attacking team at the breakdown. But when you are trying to cover the field, you need lots of men on your feet. The first things first, clear the ruck and chuck potentially a couple more numbers into it, because Gloucester are providing all manner of problems there.
O'Connor on his travels, held onto by Alex Craig. His rise to prominence this season, earning a few days in the Scotland Six Nations camp. Arfoa.
He tripped over this man on the floor.
Randall. Again, nice sympathetic hands from Woolmore, just keeping things going. Williams positioning himself, pressurised by Morahan. Gloucester with the advantage.
Advantage over.
Clipped away by Jason Woodward, former man of Bristol, of course. There's Harry Randall, former man of Gloucester, left Gloucester a couple of years ago to find more opportunities. He sets O'Connor away again, but not for long. Here he is once more, Randall.
Isolate him.
Vui, Arfoa. Atwood picks it up. Morahan. This is Thomas. And that was a high tackle.
Yeah, nothing more than that, just that seatbelt challenge that we saw a couple of times last night. Player beats you over your tackle, and then you're coming from across, and it's quite easy to slip up there. You hit initially in the right place, but you slip up round the neck. The picture you present to the referee is a pretty simple one to give the penalty.
There you go. Cheers.
Unhappy with the way Gloucester have started. First job was to try and calm this big Bristol crowd down. And done that to a certain degree.
Well, given the statistics we presented pre-match, that they come out the blocks very slowly, the fact that they're level after, what, 25 minutes, to be relatively happy with.
That looked forward to O'Connor, but Carl Dixon couldn't have been in a better position, so we go on. Moulton. Goodness. What a front rower's up to these days. It ought to be illegal.
Giving hookers a bad name with offloads like that. Put a few out of a job.
Then Arfoa goes in to do the usual wheelbarrow work that we normally associate with props, but they get up to everything these days.
Gloucester just trying to make an absolute nuisance of the breakdown, and this is the area that Pat Lamb has talked about. They may well have worked on it, but Gloucester definitely winning that battle at the minute.
Frustration for Lewis Ludlow, working hard at the breakdown, but this is Thomas. Oh my goodness, that tackle needed to be made by Franco Murray. Full-on retreat, Gloucester for a second or two. Henry Purdy, part of that link. Randall, Moulton again, not holding on to it for long. Thomas once more.
Still playing about it, Harry.
Story being told either side of the 22 at the moment. Vui, Nathan Hughes, but on we go.
Knock on there.
Ball came off Hughes' hand, but advantage was being played.
Yeah, I just feel that Gloucester are piling bodies into this breakdown and making it as physical a contest as we can. As Randall makes that break, Thomas on the inside. And here, you felt there was numbers on down this left-hand side, causing all sorts of problems. There, Vui just couldn't get the final pass away to Nathan Hughes. He'd take some stopping from that far out.
It's really interesting watching these two youths because they're two sides trying to play a similar game. They want to play with ambition, but this season just tempering it a little bit, not going mad on a Saturday night.
Yeah, I think you're right. We've not seen a huge amount of it from Bristol in this opening quarter in terms of just using their boot. Gloucester have got the best defence in the Premiership, and there's many ways in which you can try and manipulate their defence. Bristol trying to do it through tempo, Gloucester negating that by their work of the breakdown. So I think Bristol could just add an extra layer in terms of chipping and chasing a bit of territory and actually letting the boot do more of the work than the hands.
5 Gallagher Premiership matches to round up in the highlights show tonight, including that late winner for London Irish yesterday evening in the East Midlands. BT Sport 2, 10:45. 6th and final game of the weekend tomorrow, the last one before the Six Nations. We're expecting a bit of snap, crackle and pop at the Stoop. Always is, even more so now. Quins against Sarries after the match. Gallagher Premiership tonight, wrapping up the week's talking points. Former Quins DOer John Kingston, I suspect, will have a bit to say. And then on Wednesday, rugby tonight live. Benjamin Kaiser, brilliant addition to our team this season. And he will be with us in the studio to look ahead to England against France in Paris. The Sheedy Show. Bristol 9, Gloucester 6.
Mentioned it a few minutes ago, but they've got to get this restart right. Gloucester have got 6 points, and both of them is through Bristol's inability to be able to clear out their own half. It's great to have ambition, but you've got to have ambition as well as execution.
So what Williams does with this, he drops it deep into the arms of Hughes. And then, well, scuffed away, but cleared away, Harry Randall will tell us.
I'm never quite sure why number 8's give the ball to the 10 there under pressure with an on-rushing defence. You know, Nathan's job there is to really take that ball, take that first contact and really get the kick away on Bristol's terms. And what he's done is given the ball to Gloucester in a pretty attacking position here.
Bristol with lots of possession and a 3-point lead. Mostert. First time into the Bristol 22 with the ball in hand, and the charge from Craig is a meaty one. Rapava Ruskin with Balmain, he was screaming for it, didn't get it. And once more, it's the props at the forefront of this sharp passing show at the moment. Ackerman, the latest lunge forward. Balmain. Gloucester's most phases.
It's a no-arms tackle.
Craig again, with the advantage for the no-arms tackle. Picked up by the TMO Sean Davey in our truck. Rapava Ruskin. Simpson. Murray was offering himself. Instead, it's Williams out of the back door. And back we come.
No arms in the tackle. Have you got a number, please?
3 kickoffs.
Number 2.
Was penalties away
Number 2.
for not clearing the lines, and then they clear the lines. They do it ineffectively, and they just piling pressure onto themselves. Bristol, what they're doing in Gloucester's half's really, really good, but what they're doing in their own, this is the no-arms tackle. You can see Sean Moulton wanting to go really low, but he's got to do it with his arms, as well as his head and his shoulders. But 3 times they've allowed Gloucester into the game.
Talk about, Hughes, the work that teams would put into training each week to perfect that exit strategy, and what isn't quite working for Bristol at the moment.
For me, it should be really simple. I just don't think everyone's actually doing their jobs. They've got lovely shapes, they're spreading the pitch, but they're actually not focusing on the first, on the primary thing. And that's in terms of the ruck or in terms of the kick. I think they're playing a little bit too loose, and we're seeing that from loads of balls on the ground. They've given away 3 penalties, each and every one of them in their half, and it's going to cost them 9 points.
Sheedy kicks a penalty. Williams kicks a penalty. Repeat. Bristol 9, Gloucester 9.
Yeah, just building on Hugo's point, early on in the game, keep things very simple in your own 22. It's not time to start running laterally away from your support runners. Number 8, catch the ball, cart it up, 2 or 3 carries later, you exit your 22. And Pat Lam mentioned the breakdown as being an area. He might add exit strategy onto that list because it's been disappointing. And it's why, given that they've had over 70% possession, Bristol are still 9-all with Gloucester on the scoreboard.
As we see Ben Morgan taking contact, and now Balmain, Gloucester trying to set the platform from which they can clear their 22.
Talking about exit strategies, I quite like Gloucester's. They've had a couple of sniffs, had a couple of looks, not gone anywhere. Respected Bristol's defence, and then Joe Simpson executes a really decent box kick. But going back to answer your question, everything they've done there has been absolutely on their terms.
Worth making the point as well that as the team kicking off, you'll have given thought to where you're going to put restarts.
Oh, well, of course, you want to identify people. Nathan Hughes, they've kicked him a couple of times, expecting to get him out of the game off to that first phase. Put pressure on Randall, some of their decision-making, almost entice them to want to play out. Bristol have done that, they've just not executed all that well.
Luatua and Moulton gets the ball back in double quick time. Randall and now Sheedy opening up here, maybe. Purdy popping up in midfield. Morahan the link once more to Alapati Leua, who's been a handful down that right-hand side so far. Gloucester's turquoise defence has just about contained him.
Yeah, a couple of offloads there from Bristol. Randall got the ball perhaps when he didn't want it, but they've kept it alive.
Hughes running onto the ball. Afoa and Sheedy. On this near side is the captain, Stephen Luatua. Afoa with Atwood not far away.
Off feet 7.
Franco Murray back with us. Bedlow. Morahan twists his body back towards Sean Moulton. Vui.
Just a fraction lateral from Bristol. We saw earlier on in the play Nathan Hughes hitting that really hard line. They need a couple more runners hitting that kind of line. It's all a little bit too easy.
Here's Nathan Hughes again. Leo was the option to the right-hand side. Harry Randall to Sean Moulton, pops up to Vui. Offside once more, another opportunity for Gloucester to retake the lead, and they will need the penalty. Not gathered cleanly by Piers O'Connor.
Yeah, number, please.
How good is Moulton, by the way? How good's his hands? I mean, looks like he's playing fly half most of the time, but unbelievable how much he's involved in connecting the play between forwards or forwards and backs. Looks absolutely superb. No Harry Thacker, of course, he's out with that neck injury.
Post.
Failed the fitness test, but Moulton certainly stepped in and been the best player on the park.
Particularly when you think that this is his first game since November. First time back in the colours. He's recovered from his own neck injury. As if he's never been away.
If I see it,
just looking across all the stats, the only person in that Bristol team that's passed the ball more than him has been Harry Randall.
Just need that little bit more directness. I'm sure that's the message that Pat Lam will be getting on. You know, we're playing well, we're going through the phases, we're dominating the possession, but we need to hit some hard, straight lines, challenge this Gloucester defence, because it's a very good defence, and they're going to have to be a little bit more direct if they want to break it down.
Thank you.
The pattern, the symmetry in this contest continues. Bristol back ahead, 12 points to 9. Let's have a look at where the game has been played. Well, significantly away to our left-hand side, closest to Gloucester's try line, and big difference. Once again, Gloucester picking out Hughes. This time he does take contact. Randall nips it away. Oh, Morton wants...
Push.
Hughes.
I don't blame him for shoveling that on, because it was a pass he didn't want. It was in traffic. Here we go. Bristol chancing their arm a little bit.
Bedlow, Morahan, and this is O'Connor. Hauled to the floor by Rees-Zammit. Seen more of him defensively so far, Lewis Rees-Zammit, an area of the game that you flagged up pre-match, Hughes.
Yeah, hasn't even carried the ball yet in the opening 36 minutes, which is credit to Bristol in terms of trying to keep him quiet.
Here's Tom Marshall. Bristol pressing really hard, and Gloucester push back onto their 22, and Harris under pressure did well just to lance that pressure for a second or two.
That's very good decision making, as is that technique from Luatua. Talking about Rees-Zammit in terms of his defensive capabilities, we've not seen a huge amount from Bristol defensively, but that's them at their harassing best, I should say. Getting up, forcing Gloucester to offload the ball and run into areas of uncertainty. You can see it here, really good decision making from Harris to not throw the ball, settles that dummy, but then it's a decent chop tackle from Atwood. Luatua gets over the ball, survives that initial contact and puts pressure in the areas where it really matters.
What he does really well there is he makes the initial part of the initial tackle up top, but then releases very clearly to the referee and then bites right back down on the ball again. Not cleared out.
But it all started in terms of Bristol getting into the right place, the territory. Talking about exiting a huge amount, Harry Randall boots the ball up, Gloucester try and play out, and they win a turnover. That's how you turn pressure on yourselves onto the opposition, and that pressure hopefully converted now into points.
Yeah, Gloucester have conceded half a dozen penalties at the breakdown. That will be a talking point at half-time.
Yeah, listen, they're a side that concede a lot of penalties. I think they're second in the league, but they had the best defensive record in terms of tries conceded, but the fallout of that is that you concede more penalties and keeps them in touch in games, so I guess they're quite happy to do that.
Well, this time, Gloucester don't get the opportunity to draw level straight away. This time, Bristol extend the lead. And a little posse of Mexicans rise to their feet to celebrate the fact. 15-9.
That's it. Clearly someone's had a word with Nathan Hughes. Probably Callum Sheedy saying, I do not want the ball. Take it up. Do your job before you give it to me.
Dan Thomas is one of those Bristolians who's got through a fair amount of work today. Dan Thomas, a former Gloucester man, one of a number down on the pitch today. Ackerman bursting through to try to disrupt things, but Atwood, another ex-Cherry and White. Here's another Randall. Here's another Arfoa. Final 30 seconds of a cat and mouse first half.
Yeah, having built up this lead, 15-9, they've had to work really hard for that 6-point lead. They don't need to be doing anything silly now. Run the clock down, do what they need to do. Another 10 seconds of this half. And don't give Gloucester an opportunity to have a bite back.
Yes, it is now.
Half-time. First 40 minutes of penalties. Spread between Owen Williams and Callum Sheedy, and towards the end of the half, more significantly, in Callum Sheedy and Bristol's favour. The thoughts of Charles Piatow when we return. Half-time score at the gate. Bristol 15, Gloucester 9.
It's a West Country Rumble at Ashton Gate, but the Royal Rumble takes place in Houston tomorrow, live on BT Sport Box Office WWE. Expect plenty of superstars and surprises in one of the most anticipated WWE events of the year. This event is available on BT TV, Sky and Virgin platforms. Well, there are 3 more games taking place in the Gallagher Premiership around the country. Down at the Rec, Bath welcome Leicester, and Tom Homer is becoming increasingly influential this season. He's dotted down for a try. Currently, it is 5-3 to Bath. They're down at Sandy Park. Exeter welcomes Sale. Sale looking for a bit of consistency, and they're starting to get it. Chris Ashton sweeping on a loose ball there. He is getting closer now to Mark Quater and Tom Vardell ahead of him. Daniel Dupree has scored late for Sale Sharks. And Jimmy Gobbert got a try for Wasp, but it's Duncan Weir who gives Worcester the edge at 6 ways. Well, Bristol have the edge 15-9 at the moment. They're dominating attack, dominating possession. Look at that carry count and the meters made in their favour. Gain line success is huge as well, but an Achilles heel, it would appear, is returning to haunt them in discipline and mistakes. Gloucester still very much in this game. Charles Piatow is pitch side with me at Ashton Gate. And we talked about Gloucester being slow out of the blocks. We talked about Bristol, you were saying it, we heard from Pat Lamb in the interview before the game, got to cut out the mistakes, personal pride, personal discipline, still not quite there for the Bears.
Yeah, for sure, almost feel that, all the play that we've had, probably, could have sneaked in a try or two. But we've taken all the 3 points that we could take, and Gloucester are still right in this game. We know that they're going to come really hard the second half. What the stats have said is that they really come strong in this half. So the boys are going to have to tough it up.
The worrying thing for you, the players, the fans, is that it's not quite clicking for Bristol, but conversely, if it could click, we've seen so much ingenuity, so much ambition from Bristol Bears that if you can stitch it together, something special could happen.
No doubt, and I bet Pat will be in the shed now talking to the boys just to get those final passes, get the skills up, get our timings right, and then if it's not really on and not pushing it, then we're just being patient, building those phases, and they'll eventually come.
Can sometimes this enthusiasm be a little bit of a hindrance that maybe players are trying too hard, they're forgetting some of the obvious basic drills to go through?
It can do, yeah. Sometimes, you have that mentality to attack, but sometimes you got to have that right balance, and if it's on, if it's not on, and knowing that you don't have to score straight away, and eventually it'll come.
It's been an exchange of penalties between Callum Sheedy and Williams. That means there's been a lot of restarts, and the restarts at the moment for Bears are not going well.
Yeah, I think, the first 2 or 3 there, the boys have tried to run it out, and the breakdown has been crucial. We've lost the ball. Gloucester have gotten back into the game. After we've scored points, they've gotten 3 points back straight away, and we've seen maybe the last 2 or 3 kickoffs, we'll try to play a bit more, but kick it and, play the percentage and have a strong kick chase.
Now, we've seen the bad and the good of the commentators' curse. We talked about Lewis Rees-Zammit. Absolutely 0 carries for Lewis Rees-Zammit so far in this game. It might change. And we see Nathan Hughes here. Now, he's had 10 carries for 59 metres. Now, we're still looking at the problems of the restarts, but when Nathan's got the ball in his hand, he's looked dominant, but sometimes maybe a little bit loose as well.
Yeah, for sure. You've seen him down on the wide channels there, breaking through tackles. I think just, like you said, there's an opportunity there where you could get the offload. The ball is a bit loose. I think they'll be tightened up definitely in the second half, and that'll be the message going to the guys in the shed. So hopefully they'll come out and everything will click second half.
There are work-ons for both teams, but it is advantage Bristol Bears at the moment. 15-9 at half-time here at Ashton Gate. Who will seize the initiative? We'll find out after the break. Bears fans waiting for Bristol to ignite in the second half. They lead 15-9. Let's hand now to our commentary team and Nick Mullins.
Callum Sheedy's penalties. The difference between these two sides right now, he's had 5 successful kicks, Owen Williams has had 3, and we have had no changes to either side at half-time, so as we set out at the start of the first half. Gloucester in the turquoise today. Bristol, as they have been so often from these kickoffs, restarts, launched forward for the first time by Nathan Hughes. And another familiar routine, Dan Thomas, the next one to give it a go.
All the way back from here. No, all the way back from here. Just slipped up, I know, but it's still gone round.
There was a high tackle in the middle of all that.
I think Bristol will be quite pleased about that. They were just about to set off on another run to try and escape their own 22 a little bit laterally. I'm sure Pat Lamb would have spoken about this. He's got to do something just to get them running up the middle of the park.
I know
Perhaps
it was
having
falling,
a word
but he's still gone higher.
his skipper and also Nathan Hughes.
Other people around it.
He talked, didn't he, about doing more work off the ball. Those two are occupying the wide open channels at the moment, and they need to just come a little bit further infield and try and be a little bit more direct through the middle of the park.
It was in the air for a very long time, and Gloucester win it back. Franco Murray.
Accidental. Scrum.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Accidental offside after they pinched the ball off the line out. Be disappointed with that. They didn't make more of that. Let's have another look at this.
Let's go then, lads.
Murray. Obviously,
we need to make sure when we go from butt to
had a little
bind that
word with Bolton.
nice and stable, okay?
I'm going to have some of that as well. Start beating defenders and offloading.
Rapava Ruskin against our fur on this near side. Jake Woolmore and Fraser Balmain on the other.
Crouch.
2 props, Moulton and Murray in the middle.
Bind. Set. 2, 3, 4.
Nathan Hughes
Now, Nathan, you can change your
quickly, busily looking for the ball. Randall, Sheedy linking up again with Randall, and beyond O'Connor to Leua.
Tackle!
Rhys Sammet doing what he can to haul him over the touchline.
I
Vui.
didn't see it on.
Hearing that Chris Vui lost a fair amount of weight recently, a sickness bug that spread through the camp, but he's fit to play today, as is Nathan Hughes. Came through the return to play protocols after a failed HIA last weekend. A dozen carries now for Nathan Hughes. Jason Woodward adding to his tally. This is Craig. He's been one of Gloucester's successes over these first few months of the Premiership season. Williams takes the ball to the ground. Ben Morgan, cherry and white boulder, but he's held on to by Chris Vui.
Okay, now leave it alone.
The boulder gets the ball down.
Being dragged over. No, ball's still in. Ball's in. Thank you.
A few phases from Gloucester, not really moving anywhere. They're going to go again, though.
Just made the run.
Conserve your energy.
Easy now, please, Joe.
Joe Simpson's doing the right thing. Haven't gone anywhere for 6 phases. Make this contestable. Get back into a defensive set and kick chase.
Morahan chased hard by Marshall, but Morahan picks out Purdy. Come to Bristol on loan from Coventry to cover some injury issues. Former Gloucester man, Atwood. One of 5 former Cherry and Whites in the 23 for Bristol today. O'Connor used to play for Wasps. And Luatua did brilliantly to get that ball out to Leua, who's rather on his own at the moment. Comes back in field to find mates in the guise of Thomas. Randall. And Sheedy. And then Morahan And opening up here, O'Connor gets it away, and Purdy stretching and scoring. Oh, what will that mean for Henry Purdy? Against his old club, against his old mates, a Bristol try scorer.
Well, we waited nearly 45 minutes for the first try of the game, but it was a lovely try, constructed down this short side. Luea, wonderful offload from Luatua. Comes in field, then links up, doesn't he, beautifully with Thomas. And once they recycle, it's all about someone straightening the line. Look how many numbers they've got. Straightening the line. Purdy has enough strength to get over, and the try is good.
First time in the Premiership for the Bears. That's a picture he'll remember. He was Lewis Rees-Zammit back in the day, wasn't he? About 3.5 minutes ago, when he was the new kid on the street. He's had to go elsewhere to find his fortune, but he's back in the Premiership temporarily with Bristol, and a try scorer again.
Well, you never know what happens with these things. You know, he's obviously on loan with Bristol, but puts in a good showing here. It's going to go down very, very well, and that's an important try for Bristol because they've dominated that possession and they need more points.
Curled it into the far post again by Sheedy, who continues to kick well. 22-9.
Yeah, it's a really good break down the blind side. I think Luea does so well just to link up. For me, I think there's a question mark on Moulton here. He's not only in off his feet and in at the side. Could have potentially broke that one down. Either way, it's a really good finish from Henry Purdy.
You've pushed him in there. Don't do that, please. Thank you.
Thomas. Bedlow picking out the fullback Morahan.
Well, it's going to open up the game a little bit now because it can't be cat and mouse. 22-9. Gloucester are going to have to show us that second half performance that's been their hallmark all season.
Chris Harris getting his mitts to it, deflecting it out of play. It was surely a Bristol throw.
Carl Dixon had realised there that it's a charge down. Assistant referee on this near side just reminded him of that. It's a Bristol throw.
I couldn't reward you because there's players on the wrong side.
Gloucester being a little bit cute.
Again, there's players. Your players, yeah. If I can reward you, I will reward you, but if I can't, I can't.
Got some good line-out options, Bristol. Dave Atwood, one of them.
Yeah, it's a five-man line-out right at the top of his jump there, and Bristol just electing to drive this on a little bit. Got good control of that initially.
Hughes. Sheedy away quickly by Morahan, and now Purdy. And no further.
That's Callum! Callum, we don't need to. No, it's Callum. We don't need to run it. I know, we don't need to run
Bristol.
I know, but we don't need to run it.
Just doing that little run-around move. Sheedy getting the ball away just about in the nick of time, but Purdy can't do anything more than take the ball into touch.
Franco Murray, Moster, deciding that Craig should be the target, and Craig is picked out. Mark Atkinson, Simpson and Ackerman trying to add a little bit of energy to Gloucester's attack. Likewise, Balmain flicked away to Murray. Simpson, being handled by Woolmore.
Different approach from Gloucester. Bristol try and play to the whip, but Gloucester trying to use their power, their might. That's what we often see from them in the second half, and wait for that opportunity. flick that trigger and then play to the outside channels.
Marshall. In front of Woodward, and then it was knocked on by Ludlow. Just looking as we have all afternoon at the difference between Gloucester's first half and Gloucester's second, it's the 7th time in the last 8 games that Gloucester have failed to get into double figures at half-time.
It's a massive problem for them. I guess if you look at it positively, considering their form of late has actually not been too bad, if they're able to put together an 80-minute performance, they could truly be unstoppable. For whatever reason, they're just a little bit lethargic, lackadaisical, accuracy isn't quite there. And of course, you can see the opening 10 minutes is really Bristol that taking the impetus and not so much Gloucester.
I just wonder whether they're missing the likes of Ed Slater and Jacko Creel a lot more as well in terms of that leadership, because clearly they got problems coming out the blocks emotionally in that first half.
Hughes, another look at the try.
Yeah, I just think there's just a small bit of inaccuracies. We've seen it all game. Just looking at Moulton and his work at the breakdown, it's a lovely break, but if you look at Moulton here highlighted, if that's not in at the side and off your feet, then I'm not quite sure what it is. I mean, I'm sure we'll see plenty of them today which don't get picked up. I mean, it's a problem, the breakdown, but that's off his feet. That should be a penalty to Gloucester. 2 phases later, and they score in the corner. Mind you, it's not just an isolated problem for Moulton there, and that breakdown, we see teams and players get away with them all over the game. That's not to say it's right, but that was certainly not missed.
Yeah,
certainly missed.
I think the referee let that one go, Hugo.
Why?
Because there was no Gloucester player contesting the ball there, and that's the only reason. I'm not excusing it, but they'd already almost won the ruck, and because we were moaning that we need a try in this game as well.
It's actually Matt Banahan who has come on to replace Jason Woodward.
Reset it. If we put the ball down, Harry, let's get it. No.
Yeah, we haven't had too many reset scrums.
But we're just moving a little bit.
We have one now. Let's hope that doesn't catch on.
There's Jake Warmore. I think my favourite Premiership fact of the decade is that he runs a hairdresser's down the road called the Prop Chop Shop, where most of the Bristol team go to have their locks looked after. He looks like a good barber, doesn't he? Old-fashioned type.
Definitely. Looks like a good number 1 on the sides there. Perfect. Remember those days?
He's been.
I missed a bit.
Tom Marshall, by the way, has gone to fullback for Gloucester. Banahan's on the wing. And here's the man with the number 1 up the sides, Sam Bedlow. Hughes, oh, he did brilliantly to hold on to a ball that was keen to escape his grasp. Sheedy. Here's Bedlow again, recovered from a shoulder injury in time to regain the shirt off Ian Madigan, who played last weekend in Parma in the draw against Zebre. Randall. Here's the barber. Here's the ball carrier, the transporter, Nathan Hughes.
Yeah, Gloucester just got to be a little bit careful now, because Bristol got their confidence back. That looked forward.
Well, Gloucester got in the end what they probably ought to have had a few seconds before, the ball.
Yeah, how about this little carry from Nathan Hughes? Sort of almost picked it up one-handed, didn't he? There, bang, one-handed, holds on to it, just, wow. Lovely little carry there, and he's come more and more into this game in the second half, and so have Bristol.
It is interesting when we're talking about a big English ball-carrying number 8, and the fact that there might not be a genuine one in Eddie Jones' squad, that we're seeing him playing like this today.
He's a brilliant player, but stylistically, the way in which Bristol use him, as you've already pointed out, Lawrence, it's more in those wider channels. In an Eddie Jones team, I think he wants his number 8s carrying through traffic through the middle of the park, and carries like that, where he's able to attract multiple players. He handled it in one hand. I guess it's a little bit easier when your hands are as big as Skips, but running through traffic, bringing in players will certainly help his case.
Let's have a word with Pat Lam. I'm not sure how much of that conversation you picked up, Pat, but we've been impressed with Nathan Hughes' work rate today, and just wondering how far away he might be from an England recall. England looking for a big ball-carrying number 8.
Yeah, I'm happy, but never satisfied. Nathan knows that. He's, you know, we try and get him involved in the game as much as we can, but, you know, we've been pushing him around, getting into position better, then he can be more effective. So while he's doing well, there's still more to come from him.
He's been busy on the kick-off receipts. Gloucester seems to be picking him out a lot.
Yeah, and it's great. That's one of the reasons we got him. You know, he brings go forward. He's a tackle magnet.
Pat, you did some great work in the first half, but a lot of it went laterally across the park. Did you talk about being a little bit more direct in this second half?
Yeah, without a doubt, mate. We know we've got them out wide, but it's execution. And when they're trying to spook out wide, we said just take it to them instead of throwing big passes. Just work at them and go direct at them.
Really appreciate your time, Pat. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Joe Simpson. Alapati Leua positions himself. He's had a good game, Leua. Very strong. Here is the barber. I think we'll know him as the barber, shall we? The coiffeur. He's had a strong game also. Jake Woolmore, Chris Vui, the latest to hit it up. O'Connor, tackled by Harris. And then Randall decides enough's enough, put some pressure on Marshall, who did very well to gather that over his shoulder and now sets off over the 22. Around our Foa, but not Woolmore. Williams to Harris. And now Banahan.
Regathered.
Yes, and in the nick of time by Franco Murray. Marshall, Atkinson. Oh, it might yet work for Lewis Rees-Zammit. Sharp work from Dan Thomas. Lewis Rees-Zammit is still yet to touch the ball. He's yet to carry it himself.
That's great work from Dan Thomas there. Just tracking back that run of Rees-Zammit.
Now the little tip back from Leua into the arms of Thomas. And then Sheedy with Simpson rolling backwards. Ruan Ackerman. Owen Williams.
It's a cracking kick.
Oh, that's a fabulous kick. Get Bristol time to take it quickly, however. This is Morahan. When he needed the help of Purdy, and he needed the help in turn of Randall. Arfoa, tackled by Mostert.
So there's opportunities opening up. The game's opening up, getting a little bit loose. Let's play on.
On it goes. O'Connor and Simpson, and two former Wasps teammates challenging for the ball, won by Joe Simpson.
Well, it's brave from both players. O'Connor going in with the legs and Simpson with the arms. It's Gloucester who've come away with it.
Williams, Harris, Morgan's offering himself, but he was just the decoy. Instead, it's Marshall who hops. He hoped beyond Chris Vui, but he didn't. Murray.
No, just leave it. Take advantage, Joe.
Gloucester with the advantage. Rapava Ruskin up to Ackerman. Rapava Ruskin once more. Balmain.
Yeah, really made much ground, have they? 5 metres since the penalty. So Carl Dixon goes back for the penalty. Interesting decision now.
We'll go here and then we'll come back. I know, we'll come back to it.
Tell you what, the ball's been in play for a long time, hasn't it? We've seen lots of mistakes, a bit of fatigue, and that will certainly
number 3.
really lean upon the team that wants to be brave and attack the ball with accuracy.
No time off.
You know, you talk about Gloucester losing a little bit of punch going forward. They've got Jake Pelledra on the bench.
Well, the concern is for Val Rapava Ruskin.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wonder whether that might temper the decision now, maybe to kick for goal instead of going for the corner.
It's very difficult for me to see it because I'm looking at so
Build
many
this
different
score back in Gloucester's favour, 22-9, 13-point deficit.
things. Time is off, yeah, time's off.
Got time for a powwow while Valrapava Ruskin is treated. Bristol preparing to make those changes that we saw. Will Capon, the replacement hooker, who was added to the 23 when Harry Thacker pulled out this morning.
I didn't realise it was head.
Lewis
when he went
Steed.
down.
Yeah, it was his own player, Carl.
Okay, no, I didn't realise it was his head that when he went
Ed
down.
Holmes as well.
And obviously, we're talking about a
So
clear-out
Moulton,
before, I haven't seen
Alfoa
anything,
and
so-
Atwood are the players who'll come off. Now, how did this injury... Oh, there you go. It's
Got an active
Atkinson's
there,
right knee.
No, it's okay.
Friendly fire, he's going off to have a little examination.
Huh?
Josh Honex's on.
It's what?
Now, what's the decision from
Yeah.
Gloucester? Do they kick for the corner? Probably feel with that 13-point gap that the decision is made for them. Got some reinforcements on the field. An opportunity to take advantage. How far can Owen Williams get this kick?
And the Bristol Bears replacement, 16 with the Capon, 18 Lewis Steed, and 19 Holmes.
Bristol.
Leading the field,
There's your mark. Hands off. Hands off.
Well, they've all played well, but you would pick out Sean Moulton as somebody who's played particularly well today.
Yeah, he's been the best player on the park, hasn't he? As you say, the other two, Atwood and Alfoa, have carried hard, but it's been an all-action game from the hooker, and he rightly gets a round of applause from the crowd.
Line out taken by Ackerman. Gloucester with some hope here. And a toe hold inside Bristol's 22.
Really well defended initially. Luatua just spinning that round, and I think they've done better than that. They've got the turnover. That is the sort of impact you want when you bring on three forwards to defend the line out. It's that man initially who spins the ball around and allows his team a really interesting passage in. Let's have another look. Look at Luatua, he's there legally, he's on Honeck, and he just spins the whole thing around and disrupts it and allows them to hit in on the side and turn the ball over. Great work from the Bristol 8.
Gloucester have made a couple of changes in their back row as well. We say farewell to Ben Morgan for the afternoon. Ruan Ackerman as well is following him to the touchline. And Freddie Clark and Jake Pelledri drawn off the bench. There's Pelledri, who is off to put on his Italian Six Nations uniform next week. And there'll be folk as old as me and Lawrence who remember his dad Pete as well, who was a bit of a legend in these parts in the 1880s, or so it feels.
Happy for you to drag me into that, Nick, that's fine.
Let's not deny it, lol.
Bind!
You can run, but you can't hide.
Time off, please.
Team game, I'll take it.
You want to set a big gap, you don't want a big gap. We've got to find a common ground in the middle there, somewhere where we can scrummage.
There we are, he's had a little visit as well.
He's been to the prop chop shop.
bring
Old
it up
Lewis
slightly.
Steed.
Yeah.
Happy with that?
What he asked
Okay, let's
for.
go, please. Thank you.
Well, if he didn't ask for that, he won't be going back.
Asked for that and the bottle of peroxide as well at the same time. Fits the bill for a prop anyway, doesn't it? He looks the part. Menacing.
Bind! Set!
Nathan Hughes just sensing the right point to break off that. He's been a monster with the ball in hand today.
Tackle has been made or onside?
Henry Purdy, the try scorer.
Yeah, it's lovely work from Nathan Hughes. That's what number 8s do. They pick the ball up off the base when
Hold
you're
in front.
defensively in a bit of a rut, and you get your side on the front foot.
This is Marshall, hauled to the floor by Thomas, who's had a busy game as well.
Yeah, I like the look of Thomas. He's had his hands on the ball a lot. He's worked really hard, hasn't he? Slightly different way to Nathan Hughes, but equally as effective.
Oh, good offload.
That's Will Capon over the ball. And he will be a central figure in this scrum that he's earned for his side.
Yeah, wonderful offload from Honeck, and then just went to Matt Banahan. He wasn't able to hold on, just knocked the ball on. Gloucester ringing the changes.
Billy Twelvetrees on for Owen Williams, who I'd imagine will be pretty satisfied with his hours work here. Interesting to see what role, if any, he has to play in Wales' squad next weekend for the Six Nations opener against Italy in Cardiff. What Wayne Pivac might have in mind for him, but anyway, Billy Twelvetrees is on.
This is a period of the game now, last 20 minutes, where you feel Bristol can put this to bed. They could just come up with something in the next 5 or 6 minutes or so. It really forced Gloucester to chase the game. They've earned the scrum penalty. This will be put down onto the 22.
Bristol Bears replacement number 23, Matt Prothero.
A couple of Bristol changes in the backs. Number 23 is Matt Prothero, another former Bristol player. Sam Bedlow making way. Line out, won by Vui.
There's a bit of movement in that line out. Ball's been spilt, but it went backwards.
Randall. Oh, and that's nicely done by Sheedy to pick out Purdy. Randall. And Sheedy over the top. Morahan. Lewis Rees-Zammit doing what he can to halt this Bristol surge. Luatua. A surge of noise around Ashton Gate. Ed Holmes, latest to crash it up. Holmes again.
Yeah, Gloucester under real pressure here. They've got the momentum, Bristol, haven't they? The pick and go.
Here's Capon. Couple of meaty surges short, maybe to be provided by Stephen Luatua. Not quite. Nathan Hughes looks eager. He's got Holmes behind him. Hughes goes. A tide of turquoise manages to hold him up.
He's not going to get out of there. We're going to have a scrum 5. So he went over the line and came back.
Attacking scrum.
Yeah, Billy Twelvetrees. Man mark Nathan Hughes' attempts to jump over the top. But Bristol making serious inroads from that initial line-out break. Little ball back on the inside, Pat Lamb just telling it, instructing his team, this is it. Just comes back in on the inside from Sheedy and just evades that tackle from Matt Banahan.
It's really good launch play. Absolutely brilliant. The minute they get into the 22, I've got to say their patience is actually excellent. Moorhand as well to get off that touch line and keep that continuity. Really good leg drive. And all that reward for their physicality and their patience. This is the last charge there. Nathan Hughes and his teammates doing their level best to get him over the trial, and they do. Held up. But either way, pretty decent position for Bristol.
Change at scrum half. Joe Simpson replaced by Callum Brayley. another who will hope to be involved in the Six Nations next weekend for Italy.
Yeah, and this, for me, for Pat Lam, is where you really want to see your side manage this next couple of minutes. They're 13 points ahead. One more score, be it a penalty or a try, makes it more than a two-score game for Gloucester. So whatever happens here, Bristol have to come away with some points.
Josh Honek's with us now for the duration. We're hearing that Val Rapava-Ruskin has failed his head injury assessment.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
That's a good shove on there for the scrum.
Look at Nathan Hughes controlling it. This looks unstoppable. Oh!
The scrum is over!
There might have been the shadow of an image of a penalty try there.
I don't think Nathan Hughes ever had that under control, if I'm honest. I think if you look at it again, the speed of the scrum.
The scrum has come up, the scrum is over.
Well, yeah,
I
but
gave you the opportunity
well, initially, let's have a look at the speed.
It's the timing of the whistle from Dixon versus the infringement from Ludlow.
That's why I can't let you score the try.
Oh, yeah, it's Lewis Ludlow's right boot that comes in, and Nathan Hughes had that under control.
What would you like? Scrum.
I mean, the scrum was going forward at our 8 knots. I mean, it's pretty hard to keep under control, but you've got to say Ludlow's infringement versus Dixon's whistle was almost absolutely at the same time. That's probably why he couldn't give that penalty try. Either way, warning signs for Gloucester. There's the boot from Ludlow.
Fair enough. Been kind on the number 8, wouldn't I, really? But you're right. Dixon probably over on the other side.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they'll have another go at the same.
There's still some hard defensive work to do here for Ludlow and the Gloucester side that he's captaining today. Once more, look at Nathan Hughes down on the blocks. Bristol trying to get this going again. Penalties coming. Randall will give it a go. Another
knock on the base.
Nathan Hughes saying to his scrum half, leave it to me.
Did you ever have those conversations, Lowell?
Yeah, he did, actually.
Okay, tight head. Four both going
Imagine you back in the day of Black Dawson.
You know where we're going to go if we go again, okay?
To be honest, they can have it if they score.
Two against the same player, against number 3. Number 3, yes.
There we are. They're made up now.
Okay.
We're dominant. We don't want to go up.
No, I think Randall saw that the referee had given the penalty and that the scrum was about to pop up and thought, well, it's a freebie for us. But perhaps Nathan Hughes hadn't realised that both front rows had already come up.
Might have heard Carl Dixon talking about the pressure that's on Fraser Balmain right now. He picked him out twice for those previous penalties. He'll be keeping a very beady eye on him now.
It's really tough. Go back to the threat of Nathan Hughes, because he's such a threat from the base of the scrum. You've got your likes of Ludlow, who aren't wanting to scrummage and pack down and put all their energy into scrummaging because they're worrying about what Nathan Hughes might do when he picks. The front row want you to push, but equally, the team needs you to defend as well. But first job first, get onto this scrum.
Gloucester have conceded 5 of the last 6 penalties. Statistical confirmation of the pressure that we can all see. Again, the scrum goes down, this time on the far side.
Far side.
There's the penalty picture for the referee.
From here, it just looks like a high tissue my side. Yeah, I know, I've got
building, isn't it? 3 now at scrum time.
Let's go, lads. Just make sure we hold our space, please. Okay? Yeah, I'm doing it. I know.
He can sense it, Nathan Hughes, can't he? He's desperate to get over that line. They get a good hit on here. It's going to be very hard for the referee to do anything other than award them another penalty.
Bind. Set.
Oh, what a wonderful battle. Look at the height of both of those scrums, and now the Bristol shove. Another penalty taken on by Leua. And now Hughes, a little bit of space, the determination of Clark to hold him up. Vui goes into 12 trees. Stephen Luatua. Holmes and Capon and Theed all conspiring. It's Theed who takes it up. Now the backs. Prothero over the top, and Morahan finishes it. Looked like it might be a try for the big blokes at one stage. In the end, it was scored by the nippier ones.
Well, it's all about the patience, really. Bristol had the penalty advantage. They were definitely going to get 3 points. They pick and win, and that narrowed the Gloucester defence to the point where eventually they were able to get Morahan over in the corner. They wanted more. Randall, Nathan lets him have it this time. Go on, we got the penalty advantage. The way coming on the short side, and then they pick and go. Hughes to the fore yet again, and they get over right in the corner with Morahan.
It's really good identification. I love this little play here. Very simple finish. Of course, Morahan will go down on the try-scoring list, but he needs to sprint across the pitch, get over to his forward pack and pat each and every one of them on the back, because it was their platform which allowed him that space.
And that's his fourth try of the Premiership season. And that's the first kick of the match that Callum Sheedy has missed. But that lead is now a sizable one, maybe a match-winning one. Bristol 27, Gloucester 9.
When you're ready. Nice, isn't it? The 9 and 8. Just having a little chat. What was all the fuss about? We got there in the end.
Those two have both been replaced, by the way. Harry Randall by Andy Uren and Nathan Hughes by Jake Heenan. Kieran Knight on for Fraser Balmain in the Gloucester front row. And also Todd Glebe, the hooker, replacing Franco Murray, and he held on to it a fraction of a second too long.
Yeah, he did well there. The captain, Luatua, I thought he hadn't quite survived the clear out, but he held on long enough. Got a feeling that black eye might be a little bit bigger by the end of the game because of things like this. He's put his head where it's going to get hurt. Superb technique. We saw one in the first half, and that's another one there. Look at the difference that makes, that turnover. They score a try, kick off, turn the ball over, and they're straight back down now, putting even more pressure on this Gloucester defence.
Jake Warmore going to head back to the salon. He's replaced by Ollie Dorr. Bristol eager for more. Jake Heenan.
Soften knee.
Looked like it went forward there from Bristol, but Carl Dixon doesn't think so.
This is Prothero, who played a part in the try. Uren to Capon. Luatua, Glean, just a little high there it seemed, but on we go.
Timing was okay.
Alapati Leua, who's had an influential role to play in this contest. And again, Bristol flooding those wide channels. Holmes at the forefront. Prothero again, the gap's opening, puts his foot down and scores. Sharp Bristol scissors cutting at Gloucester's cloth.
Well, it's all come for the turnover after the kick-off, but what they did, the phase play before that, they got in behind with that superb bit of work, passes out the back door, going from left to right, and when they came back with a couple of hits up to their forwards, there was so much space and way too many men on that overlap. Pritheroe going over. He was the provider last time out, and he's the finisher this time. Just checks his run, realises he's got enough space on the outside. And Bristol go in search of the bonus point.
And it's a bonus point, coupled with the win, that would draw them level with Gloucester on Premiership points heading into this little 3-week mini break that we're about to have. So a potentially significant half a dozen minutes ahead here.
It's huge. Very good here at Ashton Gate. 7 on their last 9 home games have ended up in them scoring bonus point tries, so they'll certainly be hunting that. Playing really well. The execution's gone through the roof this half. Attention to detail at the breakdown has allowed them to create momentum.
This is Callum Sheedy's last job of the day, and he finishes it with a flourish. He's kicked well, he's passed well, he's controlled well. And he's being replaced by Johan Lloyd now, but he's stamped his mark on this match.
Yeah, it's just the patience, isn't it? Bristol coming into this game off the back of a number of Premiership defeats, and you could see as soon as they got that slight lead, the confidence came flooding back to their game, and now they're looking very, very comfortable indeed.
Gloucester penalty, ball taken up initially by Harris, now Brayley trying to accelerate things. And this is Freddie Clark. A little over 5 minutes to go. And Bristol and Vui have it back.
Yeah, I was just about to say, having been so good in attack, it's important that they don't concede, because having conceded 15 tries in the last 3 games, they'll want to keep this down to a no try for Gloucester, 9 points only.
Over from Gleave.
Mostert. Tackle by Luatua, who is back on his feet quickly, but it's 12 Trees and Harris who can still give it a blast for Gloucester. Now Banahan takes on Purdy.
Thank you.
Kieran Knight. This is Todd Gleave. James Hansen and Cornet Ferrer remain injured. A couple of crook hookers. Harris.
High tackle. By 6. Back a bit. Go ahead. Number 6.
Only 12 Trees. Quick to get on with it.
Line, please.
Even the prospect of a losing bonus point looks a fairly distant hope at the moment. They've been blown away in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's normally Gloucester who are so good in that second half, but actually it's been a complete reversal, isn't it? Bristol tweaking a few things, and now got the points on the board that all their possession deserves.
Pelledri was highest, and now look at Gloucester driving around. Ball will have to be resuscitated, and they will not get the opportunity. Hard Bristol defence, Bristol scrum.
Yeah, Dan Thomas. I think that's the lad there getting up. We talked about Nathan Hughes, we talked about Luatua, but he's been immense today, absolutely immense, both in attack and defence, both sides of the ball. He's the one that gets in and works really hard.
Here's a mark on the line.
Well, it's been a tough job, I'd imagine, Hughes, picking the man of the match, but what are you looking at?
It's been some quality candidates, haven't they? Identified already. Sean Moulton, I think he's been class. Not just what he's done in attack and defence, but also his passing game, I think, has been excellent. You've just mentioned him there. Dan Thomas, I think, has had an outstanding performance. Often goes under the radar, but that's what you want for your back row. But it's a game based on momentum, and that guy there in your screens, Nathan Hughes, I think he's brought that more so than anyone. He's our Gallagher Premiership man of the match.
A big smile to go with it.
You got Sean Moulton all excited then. He thought he had the prize. The big build-up.
Well, now Gloucester with a free kick. And unexpected opportunities. Brayley trying to rattle away, and the drive for the line, and that close. This is Gleave. Brayley again, keeping it going, and Gloucester scoring. Freddie Clark, a little bit too little, a little bit too late, but better.
Well, it's almost inevitable as the drop goal goes over. So hard, isn't it? When you've got that much momentum, you could see Bristol pouring their forwards round the short side. They were desperate not, to be fair, to concede, but they're fatigued there. And Clark, who's not, he's got some energy left, comes on a really nice line, goes against the grain and just picks the hole out inside Luatua.
Mostert, one of those Gloucester players who is just about ready for a break, you'd imagine. That's 4 or 5 months that Franco Mostert has had. World Cup win, of course, the shining light. It's been a tough run for every single one of these players that we're watching today. They will, all those not involved in the Six Nations, appreciate a little bit of a breather. Come back refreshed for the final few laps of the Premiership season.
No one there for Billy Twelvetrees, was they? Got themselves in the middle of the park and the passes were way too deep. So hard when you've got to pull something out of the hat.
Reece Samet, one of those rare occasions where he's run with the ball, but no real threat. And Chris Vui ended it.
I think it's been part of their problem this week. They've had a bit of an unstructured week.
Oh, hold on here. Oh, the break from Brayley, and he's being hunted down by Prothero.
That's going to be a yellow card. I thought he'd actually done some great work at the breakdown there, but illegally.
Yeah, Henry Purdy.
He won't be seeing any more action. It'll be for just over a minute that he's sin bin. Billy Twelvetrees just poking this one in the corner.
One or two things to ponder for Johan Ackermann as they head into this little break.
Thank you.
And I know there's been changes to this Gloucester side, but the trip out to Toulouse and the whole manner in which that game played out, it's bound to take a lot out of Gloucester. They look a little bit weary today.
Mostert unimpeded, Gleave, and then Atkinson, he's lost it. And the job is concluded by Piers O'Connor. Bristol's biggest ever Premiership win against Gloucester. A win that always matters more than most. Matters in a record-breaking fashion today. They have run away with it in the second half to reignite their push for the Premiership playoffs at the end of the season. They've won this one at Ashton Gate by 34 points to 16.
Yeah, after a relative Premiership slump, Bristol getting themselves back to winning ways. They were excellent right from the get-go today. They dominated possession.